The problem with modernity is often framed as a lack of meaning and the necessity to return to religion. But this return to religion is always framed in a moralistic and intellectualized way. If you simply say the right words, post "Christ is King" in the comment section of a video, go to church, maybe have a couple kids, then our society will be saved from the postmodern meaning crisis which was induced by that naughty little Nietzsche. But this clearly isn't the solution. It's merely a band-aid, and this is because the culture wars conservative crowd fundamentally misunderstand what religion is. Religion, in its most essential form, is the highest expression of the vital spirit and will of a people or civilization, of a biological organism. It is the highest and most spiritualized representation of the wildness and vitality of the barbarian, which I so often speak of on this channel. Therefore, we cannot return to religion through an empty, half-hearted, reconstructed faith. We cannot reason our way to a restoration of the Christian ethos of the 40s and 50s, just as Julian the Apostate could not force a revival of the sincere Dionysian spirit of Hellenic paganism through intellectualizing the gods with Platonism. Any sincere revival of what we call religion must come from the body and from the spirit. One will never find a Christian revival by attempting to reconstruct medieval Catholicism or Orthodoxy, by attempting to revert to the most pure, most based, most original forms of Christianity, by boldly declaring that the earth is flat and evolution is fake. Tradition is a second-order effect. If one admires medieval Christianity, they should seek to discover the spirit which animated it, not to reconstruct the scaffolding of customs and theology. Similarly, those who accuse pagan revivalists of not being traditional enough because they are not exactly reconstructing the rituals and beliefs of their ancestors miss the point entirely. As Nietzsche wrote in Twilight of the Idols, first one must convince the body. Culture, and in this case religion, begins in the body, in instinct, in the highest and most essential expression of a drive or will. Let's take marriage and fertility as examples. If we enforced traditional Christian marriage by law, would it skyrocket fertility rates in Western countries? Some believe so, but I think not. An institution is established to accommodate a drive or instinct within a specific historical context. Without the drive to reproduce, marriage would have no purpose, and so it has lost its purpose in a society which has no drive to fertility, and perhaps more importantly, no drive to or desire for legacy. Yet those who still have those drives reproduce regardless, because the drives, the instincts, come first, before the institution. The point of a religious institution, in my view, is to drive a will or instinct through specific channels. Initiation rituals direct the violent and wild instincts of the young man and transform him into a mature warrior. So how does one revive the authentic religious spirit within oneself? How does one direct one's instincts towards the higher, towards higher destinies? How do you imbue yourself and in turn your society with such vitality and religious fervor that you are capable of spending hundreds of years building a cathedral, perhaps even thousands of years journeying into space in search of habitable planets? Firstly, you must build the foundation by strengthening your instincts and imbuing yourself with vitality. Start with everything which I recommended in the previous episodes of this series: fixing your diet, lifting, learning a fighting sport, rewilding yourself. You should feel that you are overflowing with vitality, that you are a wild animal trapped in a cage. If you do not feel this under modern conditions, you are most likely in some way sedating yourself. Now, this feeling is not sustainable for long periods, at least not without going insane. Sometimes in modernity, one must be sedated, but you want to be able to at least access that Dionysian state, even if you cannot sustain it for prolonged periods. I believe this is what draws men to nofap. It is a shortcut to this feeling, though it alone is superficial and fleeting. Once you are filled with vitality, you need to give your instincts a voice. By immersing yourselves in the texts, the language, and the symbols of your religion, you will begin to give your instincts, or as Carl Jung would say, your unconscious, a voice again. Slowly, or perhaps even quite abruptly, these symbols will begin to spill over into your life, starting with your dreams. This happened to me when I first began reading Carl Jung. My dreams turned from bland to explosive, vivid visions filled with religious symbolism. And if you follow these symbols, these gods, they will direct you towards your fate. Many of the ideas for this channel came to me in my dreams, or even my waking hours, from the mouths of gods. And finally, it is okay to begin by LARPing. You may at first feel spiritually poor, clinging to ancient symbols, but that's okay. These symbols are expressions of something higher, of a spirit, a feeling, a desire, a will, which cannot be expressed in words. If you are a Christian, meditate on a particularly potent image of the dying Christ. If you are a pagan, meditate on statues or images of the gods. For me, it was the image of the beautiful, vital human form, which again and again imbued me with religious fervor and drew me towards the spirit of the ancients. And to close, I would like to call for a Christian-pagan alliance. Many of you will have a visceral negative reaction to this, but hear me out. Why is it that a religious rebirth is even desirable? Is it not to encourage fertility, the construction of beautiful buildings, the commencement of grand civilizational projects, the transformation of men again into creatures who could believe, like Alexander the Great, that they are the Son of God, filled with divine power and destiny? Is the need for a religious rebirth in the West not, in short, the need for an explosive rebirth of all of the instincts which support life? And if that is the case, then perhaps it is counterproductive to dispute theology, at least at this stage. One must begin by convincing the body, and institutions and theology will follow in time. It is my vision that all of you who would seek to imbue the West again with a vital, life-affirming spirit and charge again towards heroic destinies and Promethean projects, find the strength to unite, whether you be disciples of Christ, Odin, Zeus, or Nietzsche's Zarathustra. I implore you to join me and come together under one banner, one conviction, one cause, one faith, for the sake of our civilization, for the sake of nature, for the sake of life. And this I have called Vitalism.
To gain access to a private Telegram community dedicated to the creation and implementation of Vitalism, as well as the ARC's exclusive podcast, check the links in the description.